The asteroid Dimorphos, bombed by NASA, has grown a tail and it's began to behave chaotically and is probably falling. This was the Earth protection system. It was basically a dry run, trying to somehow jostle an asteroid away from its bigger asteroid that it was accompanying, to see if their method of protecting Earth by doing this would have been viable. On September 27, 2022, NASA collided its spacecraft with an asteroid to test the theory that the asteroid was likely to be redirected. This mission was necessary to understand whether humanity in the future would be able to change the orbit of an asteroid in this way in the event of a threat to impacting our Earth. And it turned out that everything worked exactly as the scientists expected, and even somewhat better, although not according to plan. A year later, Jonathan Swift, a teacher from California, and his students, thanks to the school telescope, discovered that the asteroid Dimorphos, into which NASA crashed the DART, that's the Double Asteroid Redirect Test spacecraft, is now behaving somehow chaotically. This is stated in a study published on the preprint portal ARXIV. The study still needs to be peer-reviewed by the scientific community. The collision shortened the orbit of Dimorphos, which was circling around another asteroid, Didymos, by 33 minutes over several weeks. However, now Jonathan Swift of the teacher school in Thatcher School in California, while observing with his students, noticed that Dimorphos's orbit continued to shrink by another minute more than a month after the collision. Previously, it revolved around Didymos in 11 hours 55 minutes. Now it's 11 hours 23 minutes. Dimorphos also grew a tail like a comet, 10,000 kilometers long. These are, in fact, the remains of an asteroid knocked out from its surface and stretching along its orbit. Swift said the number we got was a little higher, a 34-minute shift. It was controversial on an uncomfortable level. He shared his observations with the American Astronomical Society in New Mexico, and they confirmed his data. So he was right. Swift explained, "We tried our best to find the mistake in what we did, but we couldn't find any mistake." The observation suggests that something caused Dimorphos's orbit to permanently slow down after the collision. One version is that the asteroid is now falling, and previously its orbit was under the tidal influence of Didymos. According to New Scientist, in turn, Garrison Agrusa, a member of the DART team at Côte d'Azur Observatory in France, also noted that there is some evidence of an asteroid fall. He said that after the collision there was a significant libration, implying that Dimorphos began to fluctuate in its position in relation to Didymos, as the Moon does in relation to our Earth. Now there is a possibility that, depending on the inertia, this will develop into a more chaotic fall, where Dimorphos could turn over, the scientist said. However, Agrusa believes that such a situation would hardly lend to a reduction in the orbit of Dimorphos, since it would change randomly. He said it was more likely that material kicked up by the collision, including boulders up to several meters across, remained in orbit around Dimorphos and subsequently fell back to the surface, causing its orbit to slow down. He said, "I think that's the most likely explanation." Nancy Chabot, coordinator of the DART project at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory in Maryland, USA, said the team is continuing to monitor Dimorphos and will publish its results in the coming weeks. And according to her data, the asteroid indeed continued to slow down for some time, but for about 15 seconds. She said, "We don't see any changes after about the first month." She was referring to observations until late February, when the asteroid was no longer visible from Earth. A future European Space Agency mission called Hera, which is due to arrive at the asteroid in 2026, will be able to say exactly what happened on Dimorphos. What exactly happened to Dimorphos could have implications for future attempts to redirect asteroids, since it's important to know exactly how the space rock will behave after a collision. Chabot said, it's very good to know that we did what we did with Dimorphos. These specific details are really key to using this technique in the future if it comes in handy. It's serious. NASA decided to play with toys and chose a double asteroid for this. Its moon, the asteroid Dimorphos, revolves around a body named Didymos. These are small objects. Didymos is about 800 meters in diameter. Its satellite is about 160 meters in diameter, just enough to destroy all of humanity about 20 times. The truth is that if Dimorphos falls on its master Didymos, it will cause an explosion that cannot be compared with anything known so far. Our poor planet simply does not have such a number of nuclear warheads to weigh up. If this happened suddenly near the Earth, Didymos' orbit could change in unpredictable ways. We already understand that NASA can't explain the consequences of their actions. Therefore, it's completely unclear whether this entire economy will fall to Earth, or whether it will, and the calculations cannot be trusted. Dimorphos grew a tail after being hit. That is, the asteroid turned into a comet. This happens even without human intervention. The boundary between an asteroid and a comet is blurred. Most likely, the reactive forces that erupt this tail continue to change the orbit of Dimorphos. That is, man, through his own stupidity, launched a mechanism that science does not really understand. After all, comets are rather poorly studied. Conspiracy theories draw attention to the strange coincidence. The teacher is the full namesake of the great writer of the 18th century, the authors of Gulliver's Travels. In his essay, Swift predicted the existence of 2 satellites of Mars and even gave their exact orbits. There are other predictions there as well. Therefore, many think that Swift was in fact an alien, which is allegedly indicated by inconsistencies in his biography, one of those whom higher intelligence needs sends to our planet to warn and admonish. And now the universe makes it clear that people have crossed boundaries, behaved aggressively, violated unwritten rules, and will suffer for it. And could this hypothesis become reality? Perhaps, yes. And we learned that Swift is supposedly an alien as a child from a book, and everything is very serious there, because at the time of the author of Gulliver's Travels, the satellites of the moon could not be observed in any way. When we read the teacher's name, we simply slightly could not believe our eyes. There are coincidences, and let's assume that there are. However, the idea of shooting at asteroids is truly destructive. We understand that, in essence, this is a test of space weapons hastily covered up by concern for humanity, quote unquote. So we received an answer from the noosphere, and if there is absolutely no mysticism and conspiracy theories, there is no point to taking a sledgehammer to where you understand nothing. This is on Soul Ask. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.